sound therapy. But
Really cool.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked I'm doing this because I was in the medical field when I was at Unity.
Okay. Wow. You never know.
But that was years ago. That was that was not years, decades ago.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that I'm that old. When I often refer to time, I refer to it in decades now. But but
Yeah.
that's the accurate way to refer to it. Oh well.
Yep.
Hey, Linda and Dina, welcome.
Hey, James Wade. Good morning, everyone.
And Kate.
Hey. Carla Ann. Hello, Carla Ann. Green and Jane, how's Jack?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. It's good. He's,
Good. Sometimes he's a little energetic.
yeah.
Still got that puppy energy, but he's like 58 pounds of puppy energy sometimes. So
Yeah. Hopefully he's going to behave himself throughout this entire celebration.
Or not.
it'll
be fun. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the moose.
Hugo had the best habit of every time there was meditation going on, that's when he'd get up, clink his nails and get a drink and do a thing. He's very noisy, always.
Yeah, we are definitely not enjoying all the rain that we've been getting this winter because it's just
Wet dog.
wet dog and then wet dog coming back into the house and then like just rubbing himself over every, area rug. I'm like, ugh.
Lots of towels in the washer and dryer.
Yeah.
It's your God Call with Reverend Bill.
So now what? The reason that I ask is because up until now, things have been going in a particular way, and there's reason to believe that they could continue going in the same way or along a similar trajectory for the foreseeable future. It's also possible for there to be a dramatic shift, a transformation, where things in the future are not necessarily exactly the way they were in the past, and we get to choose. So what is it that you would like to have happen next?
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On that clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star you feel part of. Every mountain, sea, and shore, you can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and evermore.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, New Thought Philadelphia, as we like to say. Here we are. It is 2021, not a moment too soon. And here we are once again on Zoom because it's our home away from, well, it's just our home now, right here where we are. So the usual Zoom etiquette applies during our celebration this morning, which is to leave your microphone on mute unless you are specifically sharing to keep the Zoom cacophony from happening. Or in the event that we are all going to talk together, then everybody can unmute. I invite you to do that now so that you can repeat after me. I open myself to love.
I open myself to love.
I open myself to joy.
I open myself to joy.
I open myself to newness.
I open myself to newness.
I know that good is right here, right now.
I know
that good is right here, right now.
And so it is. Yeah.
So it is.
New Thought Philadelphia is an open and loving community of spiritual adventurers, welcoming each person to experience their divine nature, an empowering space of unconditional love. go ahead and your microphone one more time. My Siri is talking in the background over here. As though I asked Siri about unconditional love. Whatever path you've been on, whatever brought you to our Zoom today, wherever you're heading next, we have been expecting you, and welcome home. So you believe that there's one power, love, intelligence, or force that creates everything, including each of us, and that we each use that same power, love, intelligence, or force to create our lives according to our beliefs. Or as we like to say around here, our new life begins with a new thought. If you have any extraneous electronic devices that might distract you during the next hour or so, go ahead and put them on shush so that we can be focused on ourselves within and the community that's in a circle here together. I'm Reverend Bill Marcioni. Our music today is the amazing Jim Wade, and our practitioner today is Joe Catanzaro, RSCP.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start with a practical prayer as we normally do. So let's take a breath, turn within, and remember that even as we sit in our own individual spaces, even as we look at each other in our little Zoom boxes on a screen, refocus on the truth. We're all connected. We are all more alike than we are different. We share that same source, our divine, the divine source. Our bodies are made from that divine substance. That same spirit, love, intelligence flows in us, through us, and as us. We just express it individually. We're all made from the same thing. We share that same spirit. And as we meet here today to celebrate that, to revel in it, to refocus and renew it. Just as the light gets brighter, as the sun rises higher, just as the rivers and the oceans fill up with more and more water, just as the snow deepens with each individual snowflake, we do that with each other. We do that for each other. We do that for the rest of the world. Extending and deepening that love and that spirit and shining our light more brightly. So I claim all this good for each one here. We renew ourselves, we refresh, we restore, and we recommit to that truth. All of this good flows through us, to us, now, and I'm grateful for it. And so I claim this good, I accept it for each one here, and I release my word to the law from the beginning of time. It's always said yes, and so it is. So we pray because prayer works. So if any of you have a prayer work story you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. You can raise your hand in your Zoom box and we will call on you. But I can't see who's doing that. So somebody else is going to have to let me know.
I have one, Joe.
Great, Breen. Thanks.
And the prayer work story is about Jack. We were talking about him a little bit before we started. A few weeks ago, we were having some behavior issues with Jack, especially out in public. I was concerned, Jane and I were concerned. We weren't sure if it was going to be the right fit for us. And I texted Bill and asked for prayer. We talked a little and got some prayer. We've been praying about it. And, I talked to some behaviorists and we got some techniques that we're using, but I think it's more the prayer, but it's been a complete turnaround night and day. He's being so much better out on walks. His behavior is improving, and there's no more longer a concern. Maybe he's not the right guy for us. He's in it. He's in for the long haul now. So
He's hanging his head down between us here. He knows we're talking about it.
Thanks, Breen. Thanks, Jane. Anybody else?
Annie, if you'd be willing to give an update, or if you don't want to, then I will. So Annie's brother-in-law had open heart surgery a week and a half ago, and there were some serious prayers going on. And it was, I think I mentioned last week, it was an unprecedented procedure. So they spent some time finding a doctor who was willing and able to do the procedure. And it was a pretty grueling procedure. And he's, as of last report, still in the intensive care unit, doing much better, walking around. And there's been this parade of doctors coming through to see him because the recuperation is also unprecedented. And so that was the update on the story that I've had so far. Annie, you have anything to add to that?
He came out of the ICU yesterday, and they think maybe he could be home in a few days.
Prayer works.
Right.
I love when that happens. Anybody else?
Jane?
Jane had her hand up.
So it's not really a prayer work story, but the whole, I'm sorry, just hearing Annie and the situation with her brother. My brother came home from the hospital for 3 days at Christmas time. And then everything went bad again, and he's back in the ICU. And so now they're looking for either to get him into Johns Hopkins or University of Baltimore, where they have lung transplant programs and where they can really deal with him better. And it's just hard to find a place for him because he needs a very specific type of a room, a very specific type of specialty in this. So I am just putting out that just practical prayer from everybody, that we find the right hospital for him soon. And just that he continues to heal, because it's kind of scary that he can't breathe. And all the every hospital in 5 states that the doctors have been trying to get him into, there's just no room anywhere. So, prayers, please, for the right situation for him.
Thank you, Jane. And I will point out, as you listen to a story like that, it's really easy to say, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of a pandemic and an upsurge and this and that, and it's the same sort of facilities that we need and the same sort of resources, and how difficult and challenging and hard that makes it all. And we can also look at it that all that is required in this situation is one facility with an opening at the perfect time so that Jane's brother can get in there. And so that will be the invitation that we're making. That will be the intention that we're setting. Not that everything in the world has to change. Little shift, coincidence, slot opens up, and it goes from very challenging to done deal. And we can know that. I'll take that into prayer too. Thank you. I think Sandy has some announcements for us.
I do. This sanguine information can be found on the website at newthoughtphilly.org and in our weekly e-newsletter. Please sign up for it on the website. Self-Mastery is an advanced class in practical spirituality that begins this Wednesday. It's open to anyone who's completed Beyond Limits. This time, the class will be co-taught with our friends at Awakened Heart in Delaware.
And I'm just going to jump in. This class, we've got new curriculum. It is going to be including the 4 agreements. It's got fear to faith in there. There is a smorgasbord of spiritual techniques and practices. So if you're on the fence about whether or not to take the class, I encourage you to take the class. And again, it's open to anybody who's taken a foundational class, whether it's Beyond Limits with us or Foundations or Science of Mind 101 with somebody else. Thanks.
Great. I am taking the class and excited about it. Join us for an online class in practical prayer. It's 5 one-hour sessions on Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. beginning January 16th. The fee's $45 with registration through the new OnZoom platform. It's open to anyone, so invite your friends and family to join in. There will be a brief volunteer meeting and planning center training next Sunday after celebration. If you're currently a volunteer or want to find out more about volunteering, please plan to be there. For details, contact Carla Ann. If you're ready to make 2021 a year of transformation, Reverend Bill has a few slots open for spiritual coaching and prayer support. You'll work one-on-one in a series of weekly or bi-weekly sessions to identify and move beyond the limitations of your past. The women's group meets monthly and it's open to all. If you missed the short preview last Sunday, we'll do it again after the celebration today. We'll open a breakout room for that purpose after the celebration. The Power of 8 Intention Circle is on Mondays at 7 p.m. You can contact me. I'll put my name and phone number in the chat. We have a community check-in and meditation twice a day on Zoom. They're inspiring and fun, are less than 15 minutes. Everyone is welcome. New Thought Philly is active on social media. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and join the Philly Spiritual Adventurers group on meetup.com. Thank you to the production team and presenters who make our Zoom celebration work. There's a short technical rehearsal on Saturday afternoons and a final check-in before the celebration on Sunday. To join the team, contact Carla Ann. Reverend Bill and the practitioners are available by appointment for professional prayer. After the celebration, Joe will be available for a miracle in a minute prayer at no charge. We'll leave the Zoom meeting open for people to talk amongst ourselves after the celebration.
Thank you, Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a blessing, and when we're in person, a welcome packet to give to our first-time visitors. So if you are here for the first time, or you're here for the first time in a while, go ahead and raise your hand, and you can even do that electronically using the raise your hand button so that we know that you are. I just raised my hand to give you an example of that. So if you're here for the first time, what we're going to do is the rest of us are going to rub our hands together. You guys just receive it. And get some warmth and feel the love. And send that warmth, that love out. You are the bright light of God's divine love. Thank you for shining your light and sharing your love with us today. And welcome home, Kit and Sheila and anybody else who's remaining incognito. Please stay in touch with us. You can sign up for the e-newsletter if you're not already. It's on the website, as we mentioned. Or you can send us an email or join the Spiritual Adventures meetup group. And we will communicate with you at exactly the velocity that's right for you. So as Jim begins the next song, what we're going to do is leave your screen on gallery view and just look, guys, people who we're celebrating this this wonderful new year and new opportunity with. Allow yourself to connect. Jim?
$525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so deep, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. In 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in your life? Measuring love, measuring love. Got to measure it love. Just measure Seasons of love.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. 525,600 minutes, or 1,440 in a day. You can count it up any way that you want. Carla Ann is going to lead us in our Flames of Faith ritual.
Good morning. We perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from the one power, love, intelligence, which we call spirit or God. We honor the richness that comes from our shared diversity and bless the interwoven energy of the divine, feminine, and masculine. We light the first candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the belief and practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. As we light the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love. And so it is.
Blessed be. Reading today is going to be brought to us by Sarah from the seaside there, I guess.
Yes, the beach inside my mind. So today's reading is from How to Change Your Life by Ernest Holmes, and the section is titled Prayer is a Mirror. Prayer, then, is a mirror reflecting the images of our thought through the law of good into our outward experiences. But are we reflecting the glory of God or the confusion of humankind? Jesus carefully pointed out that before we can reach a position of absolute power, we must first have complied with the law of love. For the whole impulsion of the universe is an impulsion of love, the manifestation of divine givingness. The Apostle Paul said, I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. This is an instruction for us to combine spiritual intuition with definite mental acceptance. He is telling us to use the gift of God consciously. We are also told to pray without ceasing, to maintain a steadfast conviction, disregarding every apparent contradiction, obstruction, or appearance that would deny the good that we affirm. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. To the righteous, good shall be repaid. The minds of the righteous shall stand. Behold, the righteous shall be recompensed in the earth. The righteous man is delivered of all trouble. A righteous person is one who is right with the universe, one who lives in accord with the divine will and the divine nature, one who lives in harmony with good. We have the right, then, to expect and we should expect insofar that our inner thought is in tune with the infinite, that everything we do shall prosper.
Lately, I have found I've been thinking about home a lot, what that means to me, how I define it, and particularly how it's changed over time. So I'm going to do 2 songs on home, one before and after the talk. This first one I wrote a while back after I found this photograph of the house my mom grew up in deep rural Western Maryland. Last night I dreamed I was 5 years old, playing hide and seek with my best friend. We were laughing, singing, screaming, and hoping that my mom wouldn't call us in. I woke up with a smile and a prayer, and a longing for the simple, joy-filled days. But that's not the way life works out. Wouldn't it be nice to have it both ways? But you can't go back, you can't go home. My mother lived in this worn-down house with parents I had never known. A home full of loving and kindness and sadness, childhood's outgrown. My mom thinks of those days as a gift, pure and perfect, flowing with God's grace. Now the young girl's grown older, but the child's still shining in her face. But you can't go back, you can't go home. Just embrace this moment, grab all the joy that life will allow. I can't go back, you can't go home. Home is in the air, and well, a lifetime has passed since I thought of that place. Buildings long gone, and the memories are dancing through space. But you can't go back, you can't go home. Just embrace this moment, grab all the joy that life allows. You can't go back, you can't go home. Home is in the heat, and I know that home is in the heat, and
Thank you, Jim. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, comedian Jack Benny, in the good old days, had this joke he told of the guy carrying a violin case stops a passerby in New York and says, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" The guy looks at the violin case and says, "Practice, practice, practice." It is an old joke. Most people have heard it before. And the reason I start with that is because the same thing applies to a spiritual practice. As I usually say, practice makes practice. And a spiritual practice is not something that you do and then check off the list and you're done with. It being a practice, it's the sort of thing that's going to continue along. So a lot of people are aware that one of the reasons that you are doing a meditative practice or something else is to create a peak experience. There are folks who have been have the experience of getting into the gap, the space between thoughts, which is where we can become completely aware of our oneness with everything in the universe. And there are many, many people who have reported their experience of that, and they're all very similar. So one of the objectives of a meditative practice or any sort of a spiritual practice is to get ourselves into that awareness, to be in the gap. The Buddhists point out that, and that gap is enlightenment. When we're able to get into that space on a routine basis, that's the definition of an enlightened being, to be aware of that oneness at all times. And the Buddhists say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And the reason that's important is because we're not going to stay in that gap period permanently. It's the sort of thing that we get ourselves a tendency towards that awareness. And that's what a spiritual practice is about. And there are lots and lots and lots of different spiritual practices. I mean, our favorite one around here is practical prayer, which is a very specific formula for prayer that was inspired by Jesus and all of the world's religions and synthesized into a formula, a technique by Ernest Holmes, and then kind of fine-tuned along the way. And being able to use that prayer technique allows us to increase the likelihood of creating something new in our lives. And doing a practical prayer is really important. It's not about the words, though. The words are important, but it's not about the words. The practice in a practical prayer is to understand the thinking that we've had, understand the beliefs that we've had, set a new intention, believe something new, and invite in a new experience. So the words are important, but the really important part is that feeling, is that change in belief, because that's what's going to activate a change in our lives. There are lots of different types of meditation. There are sitting meditations, and a lot of times that's what people think of, isn't it? Lotus position with hands up like this, sitting in quiet silence. And silent meditation is wonderful. And as people get into a meditative practice, a lot of times we're going to set aside a specific place where we're going to go to meditate. And that might be a cushion somewhere in our house, or it could be the top of a mountain, whatever it's going to be that lets us set aside that sacred space so that we can connect with the divine. Connecting with the divine. It's like, oh, I want to be more spiritual. Well, not going to happen. Each of us, all of us, is 100% spiritual right now. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we can't get more spiritual, but we can become more aware of our spiritual nature and connect more deeply to that divinity which lies within us. So there's lots of distractions in the world around us. You get that nice new purple meditation cushion, and you set it up, and you put on some incense, and you dim the lights, and you put on the droning background music, and sit there and review your shopping list, or what a jerk your boss is, or stuff on your to-do list, or whatever it happens to be. And it's better than not sitting on the meditation pillow at all, but it's not really a spiritual practice. The objective is to let go of all of that chatter, all of that clutter, and allow something new to happen. To not be doing something, to instead just focus on being. Because what we are being is bright lights of that divine love, each of us in our own way. So when you have an opportunity, practice. And you don't have to do a meditation sitting down. You don't have to do a prayer by writing it out longhand. You don't need to do this. There's no specifics that are required. The tone and texture of the spiritual practices you have will be entirely yours, completely new for you. You can do a walking meditation. And some people love to go for a walk in nature and just connect. If you set about doing a walking meditation, and you put in your earbuds and you're listening to an audiobook, or taking a class, or listening to music, and singing along, then you're probably undermining your own spiritual practice. It's a nice walk, not necessarily a walking meditation. Same thing with any sort of moving meditation. Yoga can be a wonderful meditative practice, or it can be a workout. And the thing to do is to be aware as you're doing it which one you want to have. You want to have a workout, you can. You want to have a spiritual practice, you can. But you need to be intentional about that so that you can create whatever it is that you want to be creating in that experience. You can do a silent meditation, you can do a chanting meditation. But as I mentioned, if you're sitting there silent, but your mind is going 100 miles an hour thinking about things and being distracted by stuff, then again, you're allowing your spiritual practice to be undermined. And the goal of a spiritual practice is to practice. That's the entire goal of it. If you don't have a spiritual practice, there's lots of ways to get it. The technology makes it really, really easy to find just huge swaths of content. The one that I use is Insight Timer. I'm coming up on 1,000 days in a row of meditations on Insight Timer. And most of the time I'm doing a silent meditation. And I do that every morning. And, practice makes practice. I do it because I need to do it. And sometimes I gotta admit, I'm sitting there and my to-do list is going through my mind. And in meditation this morning, I realized that there was something that I needed to do at the very end of 2020 and still needed to be taken care of. So Breen, I'm dropping by your house this afternoon to get checks on. And who knows? Was that something that Spirit was reminding me needed to be done? I don't know. It definitely wasn't meditated. It was helpful. And I didn't consider it to be a failed meditation. But I also didn't jump up in the middle of the meditation to look for the checks. I took that as guidance and said, okay, that's definitely something to think about. And then continued to breathe and went through the rest of the process there. So on Insight Timer, there are literally thousands of guided meditations, all sorts of different practices that you can take part in, or you can do a silent meditation or one just with some quiet background music. There are just many, many, many different ways that can go together. I'm seeing some notes in the chat about there being some background noise. I'm suspecting that must be coming from me since it looks like everybody else is muted. So, sorry. And I'll let go of it. It is possible to do a meditation while you're eating. A lot of people will do a very intentional silent meal and to be very intentional. And you take a bite and you savor whatever it is that you're eating and you let yourself become completely present with what you're doing. So the spiritual practice isn't what you're doing. It isn't the activity. It isn't, oh yeah, you have to be sitting, you have to be swimming, or you have to be whatever. You can turn anything into a spiritual practice. Because back to point number one, you are 100% spiritual. You are never going to be any more spiritual than you are right now. But we can deepen into our awareness of it. And you can do that while you're eating. You do it alone. You can do it in a group. You can journal, just writing down your experiences of the day and using that as a time to just open up a channel to connect more deeply with your spiritual nature. You can do gratitude. Some people do gratitude journals. Every night you write down 5 things that happened today that you're grateful for. If you want a big challenge, you set the intention that you're not going to repeat any. So the first 3 or 4 days are easy, and then say you get down to the details. Oh, I'm grateful for this. I've written this one down before, so I have to find something new. But again, that can be very powerful because it lets you become more attuned to things that are happening in the world around you that you're grateful for. Because they're happening anyway. And you might be grateful for them anyway, but you're not noticing. And you can. It is possible to make anything into a spiritual practice. Prayer and affirmations are a spiritual practice. That's where we are setting an intention and turning it over to the divine. And meditation is a spiritual practice in that we are quieting our own mind and allowing the infinite to inform us. So that's the conversation. Prayer and meditation are getting a chance to speak and getting a chance to listen. And doing one without the other probably leaves a little bit to be desired. There's a meta meditation, and it starts with self and it builds itself outwards. And this is really, really simple. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. You try that one right now. Just take it. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. Take a deep breath in. And tell yourself, may I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. And the word may doesn't mean I'm asking for permission, that there's some force outside of me that might give me this. I'm allowing this to happen. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. And it's an opening. It's an opening rather than a specific affirmation where we say, I am well, happy, and peaceful. So we're allowing that to become even more rich and even deeper in our experience. And then we broaden it out. May all of my family members be well, happy, and peaceful. May all of my family members be well, happy, and peaceful. May all of my loved ones be well, happy, and peaceful. May all of my neighbors be well, happy, and peaceful. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. And it's interesting that if you just repeat the words, and you're not paying any attention to them, you're not giving any meaning to them, then they're just words. But when we allow our belief to be that well, happy, and peaceful is available to a greater degree and a wonderful extent for everyone on the planet, for all living beings, by doing that from that quiet space within, we're in spiritual practice. It is done unto you as you want. No. It is done unto you as you say. No. It is done unto you as you hope. It is done as you believe. It is done as you believe. As we're creating new experiences, as we get into this spiritual practice, as we connect with that spiritual truth of who and what we are, as we allow ourselves to speak from that highest place, from that place where we can set an intention with that same creative authority that the infinite used when creating everything, then our word becomes very powerful. It's not just words, it's the creative law of the universe being activated. When we're in that space and we say, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, that can make a change to the world. Don't know what it's going to look like. None of my business. It's above my pay grade. But when I can state that, or state whatever it is that I'm saying, as a positive intention, and feel the fire of that belief, then I'm able to create something wonderful and new. There are other spiritual practices. One of them is tithing. We just finished the unexpected income flow. It wrapped up at the end of the year, and as soon as the bookkeeper comes up with the numbers, it's close to $20,000 in unexpected income. It was gathered by the group since we started in October. And that's a wonderful experiment in this spiritual practice of being in the flow of prosperity. And that's one of the things that Brina and I were talking about, is we don't talk about New Thought Philadelphia probably often enough. And the reason is a lot of people think it comes off sounding like a commercial, because, oh, well, you take 10% of your income and you give it to the source of your spiritual substance. The spiritual practice is actually being able to turn your awareness to what's feeding you, what's filling you, where that good is coming from. And the tithe is about being very specific and allowing the good that's flowing to you in terms of your financial prosperity to flow to whatever that source is. And the interesting coincidence is that as we do that, as we become intentional and spiritual in our financial affairs, we tend to wind up with more prosperity and all of the other good that we're talking about here. But as I said, it comes off sounding like it's a commercial for the church, because hopefully you're getting spiritually fed here at New Thought Philadelphia. And I hope that hopefully New Thought Philadelphia would be one of the organizations where you'd be directing the tithe. So instead of me talking about that, which sounds like a commercial, I'm going to invite Breen, who's the president of the board of trustees and a practitioner here, but is not on the payroll, to say a couple of words about his tithing practice, which has been going on for decades.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Yeah, I was taught years and decades ago to put God first in every area of my life. And I could put God first in relationships, and God first in work, and God first in family. And it was a challenge for me, the idea of putting God first in my finances. But as I learned more about tithing and saw abundance growing around me, I took a risk. I took a chance. I've shared this story a little bit before. I was involved with the spiritual community. It was a Unity Church. It was very fundamental on teaching the basics from Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. And Charles Fillmore was big into tithing. And there's a lot of biblical stuff that you can read about and research, and about the 10% in this deal that the early Jews made with God. It's like, I got such a deal for you. You get 90%. I took a chance and started tithing, and I used to joke, well, I still joke about it, but like nothing got worse. My ex-wife and I, we were, money was very, very tight, and we were robbing Peter to pay Paul, and moving money around and not paying this bill to pay that bill, and then pay this bill and not pay that bill. And we were behind on our mortgage, and it seemed like a crazy, insane thing to take 10% of my income in that situation and tithe that. But I did it. I did it with faith, and nothing got worse, which I thought the bottom would fall out. And then things started to get better, and better and better. And to me, tithing is not about money. It's about acknowledging Spirit as the source of all my good. And the money part is there. I tithe 10% of all my income, no matter what it is, to the source of my spiritual growth. Right now, that is New Thought Philadelphia. When I was first coming to New Thought Philadelphia, I was tithing somewhere else. There's some teachings. Edwene Gaines talks about tithing wherever you feel like you're getting fed, and she keeps a notebook. And she has a really neat story in her book about tithing to a waitress that was really nice to her in a diner, and she felt fed spiritually from that person. So it's not about giving money to New Thought Philadelphia. It's not about getting money for yourself. It's about giving and being in the flow and really putting God first in everything. And a lot of us at times are very interested and thoughtful of our money, and money makes the world go round and all that stuff. And to put God first in a critical area of your life is rewarding. So that's my tithing story.
Thank you, Breen. And I'll just follow that up. If there's something in the back of your mind that says, well, I'm interested in tithing, but I don't want to tithe there because they're the ones who are talking about it. If there's any resistance that you're having, then find some other source of spiritual nourishment where you can tithe. Try the practice. Try it out. See what it's like. If you've never done a sitting meditation, try it. If you've never done a walking meditation, then take a walk. Go take a hike and see what it's like when you get quiet and let the thoughts stop. Chop wood, carry water. Practice, practice, practice. Because nothing will get worse. And there's every possibility that things get tremendously, tremendously better. There's a gift that is available for each of us individually, for all of us together at every moment. And we can be completely ignorant of it. We can take it for granted. I suspect that we've each been breathing since I started doing this talk, and probably not thinking about it that much, other than the time when I told you to take a deep breath. You can be grateful just for that, just for the way that your body is uplifting and sustaining you. You know, if you're feeling great, then we can be appreciative for feeling great. And if something's going on and we're feeling unwell, we can be grateful that our immune system is active, because all of those symptoms are our immune system fighting off whatever's going on inside of us. There's an opportunity in every situation to pivot and look at the good and invite more and more of the love. So that's the invitation, kicking off 2021. Find something to try, and practice, practice, practice. You deserve all of it. So it is.
Both of my parents are gone now, but I spent many, many hours in my life driving to wherever mom and dad were, because that was home. Traveling at night, the headlights were bright. We'd been up for many an hour. All through my brain came the refrain of home and its warming fire. Home sings me of sweet things. Life has its own wings to fly over the mountains. Oh, standing still. The people I've seen, they come in between the cities and this tiring life. The trains come and go. Deep down I know that the struggle will soon become a fight. But I need hope to save me of sweet things. When life has its own wings to fly over the mountain tops, though I'm standing still. Traveling at night, the headlights were bright. Soon the sun came through the trees. Around the next bend, the flowers will stand, the sweet scent of home in the breeze. Oh, sings me of sweet things. Life
All right, I'm unmuted now. And I think we're going to continue with some meditation. And we might have a surprise music track for meditation today. I'm not sure. But to start this off, many years ago, before I even really discovered New Thought, I came across a quote that I've used every New Year's Eve since then. And that quote is, "In the stillness of the newborn year, remove the old and hopeless from my heart." And as I thought about it this year, I said, I need to change this up. I need to make it positive and present tense and maybe a little more powerful. And I started thinking about it, and I realized that in order to, I didn't want somebody else to, like, I'm not giving over the power to have something else or someone else remove it. So if I'm going to claim that power and own that, then I need to release. So I need to release that old and hopeless. And I thought, okay, so now it's a little bit more personal and powerful. And how do I make it a little more positive? So if we want to, why are we releasing anything? Well, to make room for something new. So, okay, now what do I want to make room for? So it's about the releasing and the accepting of something newer and brighter that everybody looks for in the new year. I mean, that's why we celebrate the new year. We look at the cartoons of the old beat up male human being that's exiting, and we see the fresh little diapered baby coming in with all kinds of new exciting things. So I think that the meditation then will be is, okay, what do I want to release in this dawning of this brand new year? What do I want to release? What do I want to keep? And what do I want to accept and bring in and receive in place of that? So let's take a deep breath and get ourselves comfortable in whatever position of comfort you can assume. You can be sitting upright with your feet flat on the floor, whatever is comfortable for you, whatever makes it easier to take some deep breaths and relax. And we'll start by taking some slower, deep breaths, holding it at the top and then releasing. So breathe in, hold it at the top, and release. Exhale. Feel the relaxation. And again, deep breath in, hold it at the top, and release. And one more, deep breath in, holding it at the top, and release. And again, think of, what is it that I want to let go of and release? What do I want to retain? What lessons have I learned this year? What new habits have I developed that I want to keep? And what is it that I want to receive? So as you breathe in, think about what you want to receive. As you hold that breath, think about what you want to keep. And as you exhale, think about what you're releasing. As we make that shift from 2020 to 2021. So with that rhythm, continue to take some slow, deep breaths. Receiving, retaining, and releasing.
We live in a universe of infinite possibilities. There is one divine source from which everything flows. It's God, it's spirit, it's the divine, it's nature, it's the Big Bang. It is that creative source from which everything is created. Everything is that divine love, showing up in its own specific way. Everything, including each of us. Embodying and empowered by that same creative ability to set a new intention, to create a new experience of our lives, to invite a new experience, and the law creates it. Jesus said, I of myself do nothing, it's the Father within me doeth the work. And that's the truth. The spiritual practice is the opportunity to connect more fully with the Father within. The activity is to allow it to create, to do the work. So I know that love is unfolding in different and new and wonderful ways for each of us. Our 2021 is as good as we could have expected, and even better. As the love flows in, as the prosperity enriches us, as the health and vitality and comfort in our physical being becomes even more firmly and joyously established. Our relationships are more loving and connected. Our work is even more creative. The spiritual deepening is underway for each of us, for all of us together, for this community that is New Thought Philadelphia, and for each of the individual families and communities that are touched by any one of us. This is how the light shines, this is how the love flows, this is how the good expresses itself. So this good is now coming more fully into experience for each of us, in whatever way is uplifting for us. So I'm grateful for all of this good. I'm grateful to be able to speak this word of intention into the creative law that has created everything. I'm grateful to be able to speak this practical prayer over a classic rock and roll track. I'm grateful for all the good and all of the wonderful ways that it's showing up. And with gratitude for this good, I release this word of intention into that same creative law that has always said yes. And it's once again responding with a yes. As we walk on. And so it is. Amen. As you're comfortable, take another deep, intentional breath. Allow your awareness to come back into the world around you. And open your eyes whenever you feel like it, as Jim does this next song.
Come on, people. Come on, children. Come on down to the glory river. Gonna wash you up, wash you down. Gonna lay the devil down. Yes, gonna lay that devil down. Come on, people. Come on, children. There's a king and a glory river, and that precious king, he loves the people to sing. Babies in the blinking sun, they say we shall overcome. I got fury in my soul. Fury's gonna take me to that glory, glow in my mind. I can't study war no more. Save the people, save the children, save the country. Sons and mothers, keep the dream of the two young brothers. Gonna take that dream and write that down.
Thank you, Jim. Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you, teamwork. We got together for our final dress rehearsal this morning, and there were 2 people on the staff who had stairways or ladders in the background. So we were all joking amongst ourselves about Stairway to Heaven. And thank you, Luke, probably prodded along by Sarah, for making that happen. I'm just reading between the lines there. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. So the reason that we do all of this stuff, we are planting seeds. We're planting spiritual seeds. And if there's something that's germinating for you, something that's something new that's breaking free that you want to give voice to now, this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. You can click your reaction raised hand button or just wave a little bit and have a chance. Go ahead, Jesus.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Reverend. Everything was beautiful. Thank you for the guidance you give me and everybody else in your thought, and everybody around the world. I know you didn't say practice being perfect. You was avoiding that with intention, I guess. But practice made practice to reveal that perfection. And I see in my own personal experience through practice, even my mistakes in the practice. I embrace everything I do in practice. If I take a shower, if I eat, if I drive, I walk, I try to keep that in my life. And just like prayer before, I used to think it was some time of day, morning, night, or when you go to church. But I found out the meaning of when it says pray without ceasing. Prayers constantly, keeping your feet in the earth and your thoughts in heaven, bringing heaven forth. And once I keep that incorporated, I feel in tune, more aware. And the reason I say this is because that's not on my own. That's through the teachings and the readings that I received from my mentors. And I'm real grateful to them. Because they didn't have to hit me in the head with a hammer. They just gave me some words. And those words with love and kindness really opened my heart to more awareness. So I'm really grateful for everything that's happened in my life. So thank you for that, for teaching that practice makes sense.
Thank you, Jesus. Are you at the airport?
Yeah, I'm in Midway, Chicago.
There's a story there.
There's a story.
Anybody else have something that you'd like to give voice to? Green?
Well, 2 things. One is you were talking about, the Buddhists and chop wood and carry water. The other day, I was watching on Netflix, David Letterman's he's got a show, My Next Guest, and he spends an hour or so talking to someone. He was talking to Robert Downey Jr. It was really fascinating. At one point, Robert Downey was talking about getting clean and sober and changing his life, and how just being a person, and he said, he used that phrase, chop wood and carry water, in reference to, he's got all these trappings and movie star and all this money, but at the end of the day, you're still a person and life goes on, which I thought was neat to hear him say that, because you say that often. But the talk today really, it was a good reminder for me, because my spiritual practice, and I have a control issue, because I want things to be a certain way. So I had a routine, and bringing another life into our house has upset my daily routine. So I'm finding different ways to maintain my meditative practice. And Jack will actually lay on the floor sometimes with me while I meditate, which is pretty cool. But it's a reminder to me that the practice is about the practices, and it doesn't have to be at a certain time in a certain way, like you were saying, but to do it, to make that time, and to give the focus to that spiritual practice, because it's all spirit. So thank you.
Beautiful, Green.
Do we have time for one more?
Sure. Go ahead, Annie.
Sorry if I cut you off, Breen. I think your computer was frozen, so I couldn't hear your audio for a second. So I was going to say, thank you for the reminder about spiritual practices in general. It made me think about how over the years my practice has changed. And then getting sick in October, a big part of my spiritual practice usually involves physical movement, and exercise is meditative for me and helps me connect with spirit. And I wasn't able to do that. So the morning meditation call that I began to join just saved me, something to look forward to, a nice way to start out connecting and just growing the community of people that I have in my life. And, you never know what it's going to look like or what's going to feel great. Or when I was a teenager, I went to daily mass. I was Catholic. I'm I can't even fathom that now, but I did. I liked the routine of it. And, now I like the routine of this. So I'm looking forward to deepening. I do know that when I go back to work, I can't do that anymore. So I'll have to find a new spiritual practice, and that's okay. There'll be another one.
Perfect. Thank you, Annie. Yeah, and the way that you've always done your spiritual practice is not the way you have to continue doing your spiritual practice. It is all subject to change. If the dog has changed your schedule, then allow that to flex. Breen was talking before. I was remembering to our dog, whenever I had a client in to do practitioner prayer work with, he would sit and lie on the floor between us. He did not want to miss a minute of that. And when we did life visioning, he would make the biggest racket. He would be walking all over the house. He would be jangling his tags against the water dish. I mean, it was all the time. It was amazing. So again, the invitation is practice, practice, practice. Sandy?
Oh, wait 1 second. The offering affirmation. New Thought Philadelphia is all about spreading the love. Our community is supported by your contributions. The gift you share helps fund our work in the world, and the way you shine your light spreads the love. We're grateful for every way that you share. We don't have a basket today, but there's a donate button on the website to make a donation by credit card or PayPal. You can also mail a check to our office in Ardmore. The offering affirmation is on our screen. Soon come. And we'll say it together. I live in an abundant universe.
I am one with the infinite source of all good. I am the center of conscious prosperity. I enjoy the richness of life. I bless my gift. Share my gift with gratitude and joy. I know that as I give, I do receive. So it is.
And so it is.
whisper in my ears. All the years they come and go, take us up our ways up. 'Cause we may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. So I won't laugh while the laughing is easy. I wanna cry if I can make it worthwhile. I may never pass this way again. That's why I want it with you. 'Cause dreams, so they say, are for the fool, and we just let it all slip away. Peace like that, silent dove, should be flying, but it's only just begun. It's just begun.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jim. Awesome. 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 And thank you to everybody for the way that you're shining your light and sharing your love with New Thought Philadelphia. This, I'm looking forward to an absolutely spectacular year, and grateful to have you guys along on the ride. Last quick reminder, I'm actually driving to New Jersey to drop off copies of the courseware for self-mastery. So if you would like me on my way through Philly to drop off a copy for you, just let me know. I'll certainly be able to do that. Let us join together as we close. I'm warming my hands up. You don't have to do that. Just repeat after me. Go ahead and take yourself off mute if you'd like to. I am love.
I am love.
I am love.
I am light.
I am
light.
I share my love.
I
share my love.
I shine my light.
I
Shine my light.
And I practice, practice, practice.
and
I practice, practice, practice.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you so
Yay.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down for chatting time.
Can we have a breakout room for the women's circle if anybody has any questions about it?
And I need a breakout room for a miracle in a minute, please.
Anybody else need a breakout room?
But a breakout room, and Jim can play that banjo. It's in the corner, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
What was that, Brain?
I was gonna say a breakout room for Jim to play the banjo that's in the corner behind him.
It's a six-string banjo. 6 strings. That's not normal.
Okay. How many strings is a banjo?
Just this bizarre little
Okay.
we acquired through the Kimmel Center through Eileen's job.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure banjo and normal go together.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
Banjo's awesome.
Yeah.
It is awesome. It's just not normal.
I'm a fan.
It was interesting, the meditation to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Hey,
Loved it.
It definitely was a
loved it.
generational thing that we remember, some of us.
I was off-putting at first because I kept waiting for it to go into the, to build. And then I'm like, oh, it's going to loop around, or is it going to? And then the jams were coming into my mind. I'm like, just be here, man. Just be here now.
Yeah.
By the end, I was all ready to totally jam out. Down the road.